First item is a notice to the public. The Board of Supervisors welcomes comments from the public during the time allowed for discussion. You are requested to approach the microphone, state your name for the record, and limit the time used to present your remarks in order that others may be given an opportunity to speak. The normal process on any agenda item is for the chairperson to read the item from the agenda. The board is given an opportunity to comment on the issue and/or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate, and a roll call vote will follow. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 on our agenda this morning is approval of the agenda. Entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the agenda as printed. Any comments or questions? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Item 4 on our agenda this morning is a public hearing for the proposed property tax levy for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. I'll entertain motions on opening the public hearing at 9:07.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we open the public hearing at 9:07, March 1st, 2022.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Any comments or questions? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, public hearing is now officially open. Madam Auditor, did we have any written comments that came in?
One that I'm aware of, I'm looking at my accounting team who's coming to your office.
Nothing.
Okay.
We have 0.
And are there any individuals that are attending the public hearing that would like to present comments, questions, or objections to our proposed property tax levy?
Yes.
Garrett?
All right. Well, thank you for the time today, Mr. Chairman. I brought up during budget season when we had all of our meetings about the 13% wage gap between same grade positions of my department and others within the county. And due to budgetary constraints, we didn't get a way to get that worked out at that point in time. In this time frame between that meeting and now, we're seeing a shift in the labor market that the wages that I'm hiring at, I'm really struggling to get replacements. In addition, I now lost another employee to the private sector making $10,000 more doing customer service. And so since we've gone to Great Western, I've had one person leave to the assessor's office to the entry-level position in that department, one person leave to the auditor recorder's office for entry-level position in that office, another one leave for another IPERS job in town, and as well as now this one leaving for $10,000 more in the private sector. I got a problem on my hands. It needs to be fixed. And so this proposal that I brought back then was to get my staff to that same level though as other departments within that 13% gap, tighten that. But now in fixing this proposal, you guys got a budget that we got the levy set that we're doing here today. And you guys want to do your for the newspaper publishing next week. So therefore, I don't want to move any numbers that you guys already have set and what you're planning. What I've done is I went to the drawing board. I contacted DevNet and I talked to the head programmer. I said, we've talked about getting this DevNet project and getting the collection program in the treasurer's office so that we'd be able to take on the DNR plus clean up some of our collection processes. I've negotiated a pilot deal. So that's going to be no cost to us. I know that we allocated it was going to be 25,000, but I believe James thought he could absorb some of it, so it was 15,000.
I think that sounds
Yes,
right, yeah.
allocated for that project in the IT budget. With that cost going down to 0, we're at 15,000. I made some cuts within my own budget, equaling the remaining 15,154. Which I've run these all by the accounting office. So that shift would cover the adjustment in pay in my department to A, fix the gap, B, get us competitive with the labor market, and C, it's the right thing to do. So we did it within budget. I feel it's a good proposal for that shift to occur within the budget. That's my request today. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the levy. What it does is it doesn't affect the levy, this proposal. That's the key part of today. And it's not necessarily an approval that needs to occur today because it's got to be approved within the whole package, which I believe is March.
Has to be complete. Yes, it has to be done by that time.
So
Budget has to be done.
but the main thing was I wanted to get this on the table today as what's budget discussion item.
Thoughts or comments?
Your folks have probably the most contact with the public of anybody else in the county. Is that fair to say?
I mean, yeah, we get a lot of traffic. A lot of traffic during tax time. I mean, I don't have the specific numbers of the walk-in, but every property taxpayer either pays in our office online or by mail. Every vehicle owner has to do the titling. So yeah, I mean, we touch and see a lot of people coming in.
Are you down to 3 people at the counter now?
We're down to 2 actually, because we just had another leave on a medical emergency and we'll be out for a few weeks. So we're gonna be operating down 60% during the month of March for March collections. So we're gonna make our shifts. We can make these things happen in the very short term, but I got a long-term problem that needs fixed. So we've all already started making little adjustments to get through this month, but we want to prepare for the future and get ourselves in right standing.
Can I make a comment too?
Certainly.
Other counties, we're starting to see what other counties are doing with their salaries and wages. We're the lowest with our 3% of any county. There's counties at 10. I will, since the budget meeting that Jared had in December, the environment's changed a lot. People are paying a lot more for people. He's not gonna be able to hire people like that are quality people, the people we want as the face of Marshall County. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for him to hire somebody like that. It's just changed. Things have changed a lot that's been almost 3 months when you sit here and think we're at March 1st already. And it's hard. It's just a hard thing we're dealing with here.
Did you have anything written up that we can look at,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
those things you were talking about?
Absolutely. Basically, what this proposal is the exact same as what I presented to you in December, except I adjusted where it was, I had the 2.5% estimated of what you're going to do for employees, and I estimated to add the 3% to basically the county market wage match. It's got the detail of the cost and where it all came from, basically the summary of what I just shared here. The second page is the cuts in my department that I made for this.
We sometimes fail to also add that we need to keep in mind our total compensation package. Our employees have 10 paid holidays a year, no weekends, good working conditions, with the exception of when we get back into the courthouse. We're a little struggling right now. You've got IPERS, and we have a health insurance policy that is above par to everything else out in the market, that we have consistently reduced the amount that the employee pays. We've got a golden healthcare policy that a single employee pays what, $786 a month for healthcare.
Single, yeah.
So I struggle sometimes coming from the private sector and looking at what wages are in the private sector, and then looking at the total compensation package we have, and all we keep coming back to is wage, 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 rather than our total compensation and benefit package. which our total compensation benefit package exceeds the private sector beyond anything I can almost imagine. I congratulate the individual that went to work for another company in town that got a $10,000 wage. You know, I purely understand we want the best employees we can have, but I'm wondering from time to time, do we overhire for a position? Is that what we have some of these private sector
you know what's-
individuals?
You know what I found out?
I'm
when I-
talking, please.
Oh, apologize.
Do we overhire for a position? I'm wondering if they went to the private sector, were their qualifications for us over what they needed for that spot? It's a fine line. We want the best employees we can have for the positions involved. But we also have to be realistic in what we do. We have that responsibility to the taxpayer. I mean, right now, we're gonna have a budget that's gonna come in approximately 8.6,
9.43
9.43
when you add the other funds.
when you add everything up. I'm not gonna put any more burden on a taxpayer than that at this time. That's just my thought.
Jared, just to clarify, what you're proposing is budget neutral. If you get the 15,000 that was put into James' budget for the rewrite.
Correct, from what was submitted and what I think is prepared at this point in time. I don't know. I don't think there's been any changes.
You'd be, yeah, moving
But yes.
stuff around a
From the
little
shift
bit.
of the 15,000 from James that is saved, as well as the 15,154 that I shaved out of my.
That you shaved out of
Okay, but
yours.
we're taking dollars from where and putting them towards wages.
IT software. Because we
Okay.
upped it from 85,000 to 100,000 for this rewrite.
This is the very thing, you know, we sat in this room less than a month ago looking for cuts to soften this blow. Those are the exact cuts we should have been making. And didn't.
But we didn't know that DevNet would do this rewrite for free.
Okay, well, we can always reduce what we have proposed when we publish, but we can't over that.
Yes, you
spend.
can, we can always reduce any of these numbers.
Now, is this the fund money that you were talking about when you called me the other day?
Yes, it all ended up coming out of my budget in James, and since it's not a finalized budget, it can really come from anywhere, but if like the budget was already done, if we were looking to do an adjustment of appropriations, it'd have to come from a specific Fund 9 or Fund 8 to match with where I was needing that salary money to go.
Sure, I assume you, like everybody else, with, as you bring new people on, there's probably a training period, time lag too, where as people turn over, it takes a while to get up to peak efficiency to where bringing somebody new on every so often, it takes a while to get them trained up and be efficient at what they're doing. So as the turnover, you see less productivity. Or
It obviously takes a while to get completely up to speed. because- Yes,
Why were the lines so long yesterday?
It was the last day of the month.
yeah, that's always,
It's
They-
always that.
They wait till the
They
last
have
day of the
some
month to
flaws.
get their car tags.
I don't know, my thought is, I appreciate your creativity in trying to keep this kind of budget neutral. I support helping this out. I know what the private sector is going through too, trying to find people, and it's awful. And we can't react fast enough here in the county. We're out 6 months. We're doing a budget that doesn't start for another 6 months yet. And things could be even farther out of whack by then.
It's hard for government. It really is. We don't get that advantage of the private
I've
sector.
been talking to other supervisors also, and you're right, they're up to 17% in some cases, increases in order to get people.
Mhm.
So something's got to be done. I think that the taxpayers want the service also. They want no taxes, but they also want the service, so there's a fine line there.
If we're gonna do this, we're gonna have to look at cuts in other areas. I would suggest we start with going to our healthcare and having a spousal carve out.
Well, that may be something we can look at down the road. We
You know,
don't have to do it
we've
now.
got situations where we have many employees that work for us where their spouse works for either the city or the school system. And because we've got such a golden policy, their spouse comes on with us. When you've got the school system also offering that. So in essence, we're underwriting the other entity's healthcare costs.
Mhm. Yeah, it may come to a point of carve out for some reason.
I don't think it's me, we're gonna have to. The pie is only so big. Everybody wants more.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world.
Welcome to the world. One other piece I want to bring up for the budget for something that's a bit of an issue for conservation. They received EMC insurance money for the tree damage and their work getting them taken out. And we did just finally get the FEMA money from the derecho.
So we want to get that in. So
We need to get it deposited. The issue is for him planting trees, getting this stuff all done. I'm not sure he'll be done by June 30th. That's kind of what he's indicated so far. We put it in his account. It's gone at June 30th. So I don't know what one of our options is putting it in the trust, I believe, right, Mary and Maria? Oh, we can? Okay, so we could do that and leave it in his regular budget. Okay.
I couldn't hear her. What she
Put
said.
it in and we run it as a restricted spending.
Restricted. You'd
Okay.
have to make a resolution to restrict it so that he could keep it. You know, I never dreamed that we'd be sitting here getting the payment the end of February of 22 for the derecho of August of 20. I mean, we've even had meetings with them saying, it's coming.
I think handle it in a resolution.
Okay, do it. I'd rather it be in his regular account because that's where he can buy trees and do his work and.
Yeah.
Whatever works out to be the easiest for both the folks at conservation and our
And-
bookkeeping area
And
here.
accounting. Okay.
Mary, Maria, do you have a preference? What's going to be easier for you?
Awesome. Okay. Come on over here. They won't be able to hear. It's really a lot of sound barrier with the,
So he mentioned that he wanted to overlap some salary for him, like for 3 months, because he's planning on retiring next.
in February, March.
in
of 23.
And he had that in his explanation, but I didn't catch it, and he didn't have an organizational change, which I have now.
Yeah, he hadn't given us any dates at budget time.
No. And so what he's asking for is 15,861.88, and that's about 3 months.
Of overlap.
Overlapping.
For what need?
salary.
And
For
training the new
training, I
person
assume.
and probably paying out his vacation.
Mhm.
I can check his vacation, but I'm sure he's
Yeah.
got it, you know, he's been here a long time, so he's gonna have a good amount of vacation.
Those dates again were what?
He's thinking March, February, March of 23, when he's gonna retire. I don't know when he wants to hire. It didn't say on the form, on this organizational form, or on the explanation that we had. It didn't say when he wanted to hire.
Well, and I
Well,
think
you've
that's up
also
to
got-
his board.
It's up to his board, but you've got a tremendous amount of variables also on the amount of training that this person may need. You don't know. There's too many variables here.
I'm just trying to wrap it up. But
That's a good one. And what was that amount again? 15,861.88. Okay, thank you.
I have to-
Okay, any other comments or questions? Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain motions to close the public hearing.
So move.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any further comments or questions? Let the record show we're going to close the public hearing at 9:26. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes. Moving on to item 4 is to adopt the resolution of the 22-12-0012, approval of the fiscal year 2023 maximum property tax dollars. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the resolution as printed.
Okay. Could you change that to adopt, please?
Adopt, yes. My fault.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any further comments or questions? This is resolution number 2022-0012, which is the approval of the fiscal year 2023 property tax dollars. I'm going to skip over some of this and just hit the high points. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Marshall County that the maximum property tax dollars for county general services and rural county services for fiscal 2023 shall not exceed the following. General county services, $11,974,241. Rural county services, $3,015,200. The maximum property tax dollars requested in either the general county services or rural county services for fiscal 2023 represents an increase of greater than 102% of the maximum property tax dollars requested for fiscal year 2022. Any further comments or questions? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Lawson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes. On to item 5 in our agenda today, which is the public hearing for the 2021-2022 decrease in appropriations. I'll entertain motions on opening this public hearing, please.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to open the public hearing here for 2021-2022 decrease in appropriation.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing on the 2021-2022 decrease in appropriations at 9:29 a.m. Any further comments or questions? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Lawson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Johnson,
Meeting is open. Madam Auditor, were there any written comments or questions or objections on file with the County Auditor or Recorder's Office?
There are none.
Okay. Are there any individuals attending the public hearing today that would like to present oral comments, questions, or objections?
And I'm saying there's 12 here besides you three,
Yes.
myself, and Sherry.
Okay.
So for the last one, and it was the same too, Sherry.
Yep, I forgot to get that in. If
Yeah,
you
it's,
Put that down, please.
and I said that we had 3 comments on the last one.
Okay. Okay.
I think we do care. 3? Okay, so we need to
Did you count
change.
Zoom also?
Nope, so it's 15.
Okay. Okay. We have no written comments. We have 15 individuals attending the public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to present arguments or questions? There being none, I will entertain motions to close the public hearing for the decrease in appropriations.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to close the public hearing of decrease in appropriations.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to decrease the public hearing for appropriations at 9:30. Any further questions or comments? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Lawson.
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes. Item number 5A is to adopt the resolution 2022-0013 budget decrease in appropriations for fiscal 2021-2022. I'll entertain motions on this adoption.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to adopt resolution 2022-0013 budget increase, decrease in appropriation 2021-2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution 2021-0013, which is a budget decrease in appropriations for fiscal year 2021-2022. Pursuant to that Iowa code, an amendment to the 2021-2022 county budget proposes decreases in department appropriations of more than 10% or $5,000, which is ever greater. The proposed decrease in appropriations for district court and the E911 tower was published in the Marshalltown Times Republican, Marshalltown, Iowa, and the Mid-Iowa Enterprise State Center on February 17th, 2022. And whereas the public hearing concerning budget decrease in appropriations for 21-22 was held on March 1st, 2022. Therefore, be it resolved, the Marshall County Board of Supervisors, that the budget decrease in appropriations be approved as published. I hope there's not too much more of this to read today. That being said,
Budget time.
it's budget time. Any further comments or questions?
Nope.
There being none, roll call vote, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Patton.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5B is to adopt resolution 2021-2022-0014, reappropriation of funds for fiscal year 2021-2022. I'll entertain motions on this reappropriation adoption.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt resolution 2022-0014, reappropriation of funds for FY 2021-2022.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt this resolution. Dan, you want to just quick hit the highlights on what our changes are? This has kind of been a very strange year in our resolution on this because we've got insurance proceeds and other things that need to flow in. So it's a lot more complicated than our
Our
normal
normal year,
uh,
absolutely.
change.
So yes, the big factor is that 99 non-departmental, and you will see that is raising substantially. And one of the things that's really odd about when we're dealing with all these insurance proceeds is the income comes in, but for us to be allowed to spend it, you have to also show it as an expense. So it makes it a little bit more complicated. At home, we do it, we know we got the money, we fix whatever, pay it out, but we have to have our expenses high enough to cover that. And so that was kind of one of our issues. So we've got the county capitol building, the number 84, that's went up 10.9-ish, and the non-departmental has went up as well. Mental health has went up. District court has went down. And sheriff's went up slightly, supervisors have went up just slightly.
It also needs to be mentioned that this money that's coming in and going out in both building and non-departmental are insurance proceeds. They are not property tax dollars.
Right, yes, it's insurance, but we
But we
can't,
still have to take them in as revenue and we still have to say we're spending.
and ARPA money.
And ARPA, forgot ARPA.
See, that's why I have the real people back here that do it.
Why such a decrease in district court?
That was due to the scanning project being approved by ARPA.
Oh, okay. Hold that.
Mhm.
We had $150,000 that we agreed to.
So that got just transferred. Just as a side note, that project is happening.
They
Soon.
delayed it a week or two.
Yeah,
It was
but it's
supposed to be
soon.
happening already, but it's coming real close.
It's
Are they doing that out to where we have everything stored? Okay,
They're actually
taking it,
taking it off site.
okay.
but yeah, so we don't see it here.
They're going to Illinois or someplace.
Ohio?
Indiana?
Ohio was my book.
Oh, okay. I don't know
Okay.
Doesn't make a difference.
Any other questions or comments on this resolution, or are we crystal clear?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2022-0014, reappropriation of funds for fiscal year 2021-2022. If there's no further questions or comments, roll call vote, please, Sherry.
Solosik.
that. Yes.
Patton.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. We're almost getting there, folks.
This one's easier.
Item number 6 on our agenda this morning is to set the public hearing on the proposed 2022-2023 Marshall County budget. This is to set the public hearing of March 29th, 2022 at 9:05 a.m. in the Marshall County Election Center right here at 107 South First Avenue, Iowa, as the time and place to conduct the proposed 2022-2023 Marshall County public hearing and authorize the Marshall County Auditor and Recorder to public notice of the hearing. Entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to set the public hearing on proposed 2022-2023 Marshall County budget.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing. Any further questions or comments? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Lawson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes. Okay, moving on, item number 7 on our agenda this morning is the consent agenda. We'll be approving the minutes of February 15th, 2022. Approving claims as audited and authorize the county auditor and recorder to issue payment of the same. The listings of claims paid at this meeting and all claims paid in the current month will be published as part of the first meeting the following month. 7C is to file clerk of district court reporting January 22, general supplemental fund surcharge of $322.67. Item D is to file manure management plans. First one is for JT Farms, the west site, ID number 63207, located at 2236 292nd Street, Haverhill. No changes were made. Eric Finisher Farms, ID number 65770, 1144 120th Street, St. Anthony, Iowa, with changes. Both the documents were in. And this is the end of the consent agenda. I'll entertain motions on approving this, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further comments or questions? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Lawson,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes. Okay. Item 8 on our agenda this morning is to approve the property tax abatement for the Youth and Shelter Services of Marshall County, 22 North Center Street, Marshalltown, Iowa, for prior tax years 2020 and 2021. This is for discussion and possible action. Who would like to lead this off?
I certainly can. Good morning, David Hicks, Director of YSS of Marshall County. The synopsis listed in the agenda is certainly where we are at this point. So when we purchased the old police station from city of Marshalltown, it was not on the property tax rolls and is a nonprofit. We've not paid property tax. So we have moving forward have completed the documentation for abatement moving forward for 22 and onward, but looking for the abatement for the 21, 20 and 21. So purchased the building at that time. Property was not on the tax rolls. It's a nonprofit. Like I said, we need to pay property taxes. So we're kind of at a point now where we're having to look back to see if we can get that those funds abated, the taxes abated. We've also included letters from those who would be recipients of the property tax, City of Marshalltown, Marshalltown School District, and I believe community college as well. So, and they were certainly okay with our request. So Jared Heil certainly been a source of support for us and the support of us moving forward. Certainly with the abatement of 22 going forward, we should be in a good spot. We're just looking for those 2 years of abatement.
Okay, Jared, any comments from the treasurer's perspective?
For the current year, the school's portion is 2,526. The city's portion is 2,102, plus their TIF 1,241. College is 245. County's portion is $845. That's for this current year. I would think if you were pre-abating next year's, it wouldn't get factored into the taxes, I believe. It's probably one of the auditor's office questions, so I can just tell you what's going on in this current collection year, what these amounts are.
Blaze or Whitney, do you have any comments from the assessors or the auditors area?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was not the assessor at the time, acting assessor Mary Lee. Did have a conversation with David over the phone about signing up for the property tax exemption paperwork. And that email was dated November 15th of 2019. That actually falls into our, at that time, which would have been tax year 2020, which we would have been working in. Then we had a response from David in the email when we had emailed the form to him that he was going to get this signed and taken care of. And all, excuse me, all 501c3s basically need to fill out the paperwork for the property tax exemption, and then the assessor needs to determine the if it is allowable or not, is kind of how the process is set up, and there's a deadline by February 1st to get that paperwork turned in. And unfortunately, at that time, that was not met. I'm not here worried about taxes. I just want to be fair and equitable to all entities that need to follow this procedure.
So do you have a recommendation?
I recommend not to do it, as we have to allow everyone else to follow the same procedures for exemptions. They have to by certain dates for, say, homestead, military. They have to file for this property exemption by February 1st. Urban rebites have to be filed by February 1st with the cities, by March 1st with the assessor's office. So in my department's eyes, I recommend that we don't do this, just because of how the processes are for all entities and taxpayers in Marshall County.
Anything from the auditor recorder's portion?
We've had another nonprofit that asked this a few months ago, and we were still up in the grand courtroom, and Whitney kind of pulled out what we did at that time for that nonprofit.
Yeah, and that was a much shorter timeline. It wasn't
I remember that.
much later, like this one is. It was, you agreed to pay 38.9% of the taxes, the total taxes due. But, you know, you set precedents is the only thing that I worry about.
Thoughts?
I like what they're doing. I like Dave and all that. But I think we have to stay with the rules and regulations and the dates that are set up. We have to be consistent.
I don't like punishing David on this situation here.
I think that's an improper vowel to use. I don't think we're published, you know, it's the dates that are set, Steve.
Is there a compromise here of any kind we can look at? Can it be halved?
So taxes are not my thing. That's your guys' thing. Mine is just following the procedures of what are set in Iowa code for the current tax year that we're working in. And that's just what I wanted to make for my recommendation, is that I'm only worried about assessed values and setting what properties are exempt or getting the credits and what they need to do. I'm not one for my job to worry about the taxes for Marshall County. I'm just the fair and equitable for all taxpayers and the taxing entities in Marshall County.
It's about $7,000, Steve.
How much was paid? Is there any paid so far? But there was a payment in September.
So I think 2020 was prorated at about 3,600.
They provided payment. I said it crosses it after this.
Is there a reason we missed the deadlines? Not we, you.
Yeah, you know, I think during the building purchase that, you know, for the documentation that to be filled out, it went up the chain of command to our president, CEO, probably missed, I'm guessing. And I think our understanding at the time is as a nonprofit, we wouldn't be paying property taxes. The building we were buying was not on the property tax roll, so that possibly could be the logic of that at that time.
Okay. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Steve, you came forth with it. You have any more
Proposal.
comments?
That was the only thing I had was what if we have this? What we actually owe?
What was the percent we did on the other one? 38?
38.9 the total amount. They didn't request the total amount. It was only 1 year, not 2. But it was 38.9% of total taxes due for that year.
Is what we abated. Okay.
That'd be roughly $2,800. And that's what we, again, that's what we abated was the 38%.
It's 27.92.
You want to put that in the form of a motion?
Steve, if you want to do that, go ahead.
I guess I would make a motion then to abate 38% then of. Assess.
38.9. Do you want to do the exact percentage?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, please. And that makes it identical?
Yeah, it was 38.9.
Well, in that we've done this in the past, I would.
Yeah, this would be 2 years.
Yes.
And apply it to both years?
It applied to both years.
Yes.
Okay.
Be sure we get that in the motion.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. Sherry, would you read that back to me the way you've got it down to make sure we've got it the way I've written it?
Motion by Solosik, second by Patton, to abate the taxes at 38.9% for the 2 years, 2020 and 2021.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion or comments?
I'll add that this passes, so then what the treasurer will do is we'll adjustment to take off that amount to collect for this year. And then we have to do another adjustment next year when it's
When
time
it
for tax
happens.
collection, so that the statements you guys receive will have that amount taken off.
Are we going to need to handle this in 2 different years at the board meeting, or will this
No.
be able to cover both?
This will take care of it.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further questions or comments?
No,
Okay, there being none, roll call vote, please, Sherry.
Solosik.
Yes.
Patton,
yes,
Thompson,
Yes. Motion carries. You're welcome. Item number 9 on our agenda this morning is to authorize and approve the FCC licensing application for NPSPAC, a 700 megahertz frequency for St. Anthony and LeGrand Tower sites. Discussion and possible action. Okay, I know you've been in on these quite heavily on these meetings, and Nan, this is, have you been in on them or just Joel? Okay,
Yeah,
just the
Joel.
sheriff, okay. You want to give us a quick synopsis? I pretty much understand what we're doing here, but I think we need to
Yes.
say some things.
Carrie Loney with Raycom sent me this right before our last board meeting. And this was just kind of another step in the process for the FCC filing. They sent us the letter wording. We've tweaked it slightly. That needs to come from the Board of Supervisors with a lot of technical information. If you read that letter, it was long. It talked about our resolutions, the different steps in the process. And this is literally just to get that FCC approval. So, but we've got to have all you agree and understand what you're signing and what's going out before we can get the approvals from the FCC.
And a lot of this was so that we don't interfere with any other
It is.
frequencies that
It's
we're
all,
on our own.
they check all that stuff out, and this is for them to do their due diligence on the FCC side.
Okay.
So it's basically our request to get our I's dotted and T's crossed.
I'll entertain, I'm sorry.
the motion can be just what we have listed here to finish at this point. Then.
Yes, sir.
That's got everything covered.
Yeah, authorizing that letter to be sent and signed by, we could authorize it to be signed by the chairman, or to me, it's nice to have all 3 of you sign since it's such a big project.
I
Let's
think so.
do all 3 of us. We've all been behind this. I just assume we all continue to stay there.
And that's the way it came from her, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We've made the commitment to public safety. Let's continue to go down that road. May not have happened as fast as everybody had wanted, but it is happening.
At that point, then I would approve to, or authorize and approve FCC licensing application for NPSPAC 700 MHz frequencies, St. Anthony and the Grand sites, site towers. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to authorize this. Any further questions or comments? Nobody? All right, roll call vote, please, Sherry.
Walter,
Yes. Yes.
Houseman,
Yes, motion carries. Item number 10 on our agenda this morning is the establishment of a radio governance board, discussion and possible action. Who would like to lead this off?
I'm sorry. I'm still finishing the last one.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd like to know a little bit more about it.
Yes, okay, where's my notes? We had a meeting a couple weeks ago. We have the Raycom meetings. Steve sits in on that. You just appointed Evan Folk to that. There's Joel does, Rhonda, Kim, there's a whole bunch of people that attend those. And basically we need, unless you all want to do this, to be able to approve, for instance, neighboring counties to come on our system for mutual aid. Example, Colo Fire Departments in Story County, they provide mutual aid in the state center area. And I think there's fire stations, from what I understand, all around our county that provide the mutual aid for those outlying areas. As well as I'm pretty sure our fire departments cross over and go the other direction. We have to get permission from someone to be on their radios. And so that's kind of, we need somebody to review that, or that has to be you all. And what other counties have done, I think I sent a document of another county that actually created a board like this. From what I understand, we currently, our commission has what's called a technical oversight board. So it's no one that's sitting on the commission currently. It is our chief deputy, which is Ben Brienne, who's here today, along with a representative from the police and state center, Marshalltown and Melbourne, a representative from the Fire Association and the EMS Association. And currently, the EMS president happens to be Angie Gibbs in Melbourne. So she's the one sitting on that right now. And for the fire, it's Randy Mama,
Yes, Mama. Yep.
and Gilman.
Donald Gilman. Yep.
So none of the people on this oversight board sit on the commission. So they take recommendations back to the commission, but they are the subject matter experts on what should happen.
And Rhonda, you sit on this also?
No, not this. You,
Okay.
I'm not on the board. I'm basically there as a. Not sure.
I'd like to take recommendations from that board, but I'd like to see this keep coming
it still
back.
has to go through the commission.
Yep.
And then-
come through us. Reasoning why, we do have some issues, especially up in Vienna Township, where we have had EMS and fire call-outs because of the way that the boundaries are drawn. Bill, remember, we've got a couple locations up there where it literally overlaps between Marshall and Tama County. And there's been instances when we've had issues as to whose first responders go to it. And I'd like to continue that we have the ability to make sure that those things do not happen.
And they tried to solve that little problem.
Right.
To this day, I'm not sure it's solved.
This also would be Marshalltown Hospital is currently on the current system.
Yep.
So that group would, to me, it needs to be somebody that knows what's going on.
Yep. And then make recommendations back to us. That's fine.
Okay. So then we would utilize this technical oversight board. They would report to the commission, and then the commission, because they report to the commission. This
Right.
group does.
Mhm.
Now, what
I
am I
would keep
saying
it that
wrong,
way.
Ben? Tell me what I'm saying wrong. Is this?
Yes.
That's right.
Um,
Big time.
This is also, I think this group, as we're continuing through the project, the first time we had to do a sign off, there was a very long meeting at Raycom that Steve and I attended along with Joel. it was technical.
To say the least.
Yeah, it was, I was Googling acronyms to figure out what they were even talking about. But they did a great job of explaining it. That was our first sign-on period. To me, having those subject matter experts also telling us when, yes, Raycom's met this next level for us, because each time there's a sign-off, there's also a payment. It is it's a $2.6 million project, and I know I'm not a subject matter expert on this at all. I've got two sitting here that are much more adept at that, but these folks are also the people that use it. The commission, you've got, I think, mayors.
Mayors of all the incorporated communities.
Sheriff and supervisor.
Sheriff and a
Yep.
supervisor,
And
well-
then there's one person from Marion Township because they don't have town.
because they don't have a city, and okay, that makes sense. The commission, those mayors, and that may not really, they probably have the level of understanding that I do.
They
So
don't
having
deal
this-
with it on a daily basis.
They
that
don't.
we
These
do.
are the people that deal
Yep.
with it on a daily basis. So, we can, we can look through the letter, going through and creating another board, which is kind of what these other counties, they didn't have this technical oversight board. To
Yeah.
me, it just seems like we've already kind of got that
I think we've
expert.
already got it.
So I don't know how we proceed. They can make the recommendation. We just, that would be coming back to you.
Yes.
And they could report to the
And I
commission and,
would really like to know if we've got that situation up in Vienna Township straightened out. With the,
Yeah.
right on the border of Marshall and Tama counties.
We can visit afterwards. I can give you the names of the people that were involved.
Yeah, we can't say them publicly. But I know that was an fire, we were okay on it. But
Was it EMS?
Was it EMS we had problems, or was it fire?
I think it was an ambulance.
I think it was EMS. And it was just one of those weird areas where we've got overlapping of the two counties. Where it was almost different townships. It was
Yeah.
really
And
an
there's-
anomaly.
There's good times when it's close too.
Yep.
We've had a fire and Union showed up, and Albion showed up, and Liscum showed up. And Clemens finally came.
That might even have been at your place.
I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fire got put out.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, we're also working with like the bordering areas, because it seems like every county's map kind of matches up differently. So we're trying to clarify some of that, especially up in the Clemens area.
Okay.
so we could probably make an action for you all to be advised from the commission through the technical oversight board on recommendations on allowing others into our system, access fees. I mean, right now, the only one on our system is the hospital. Who knows down the road?
Well, with the new tower, this was built and we're gonna have requests for people to put things on that tower. And you may have possibly some revenue coming in. Plus, we've got other agencies that are gonna wanna hang equipment off of that tower. Now, we're not gonna have that in LeGrand, will we? Only the new one we're putting. up
Right,
in
and
the
that we have to be very
northwest quadrant.
careful
We
until
can't-
it's paid off.
Right.
Yep,
The revenue source. And it's not to say, if somebody pays us a very minimal amount up front, we're told that could be okay, but it would have to be evaluated.
We also will have to look at secondary roads,
Mhm,
radios on there as well.
mhm. And one of the big things is to make sure that all of the radios in the system are in the maintenance agreement, because it can cause problems to other service if you have people that are not.
And updates and upgrades need to be
Done.
scheduled simultaneously or in
Yeah.
sequence, otherwise you have users that aren't compatible.
And a
Yeah.
lot of it can be done over just the year, but at the same time, there's going to be radios that are going to have to be touched.
Yeah, the 3 sitting on the shelf for backup in case something breaks, those also have to be touched.
you work with us the closest. Do you have a recommendation on what she's going to state here for this?
I would say that the technical oversight board is going to be one of the best options because you do have the users out there, but I would add Evan to it, and I would add definitely myself to it as part of, so that the triarch would be able to report that back. And Evan is the chosen one, so obviously he would take that information to. Straight back to you guys.
Okay.
But it would still have to go to the commission.
Right, the technical oversight board, if it's utilized, if I remember correctly in talking with Joel, it would be, it's all part of that. So with Bill being the chair, the vice chair of the commission, it still basically goes through, it goes through both simultaneously, essentially.
Okay.
Because it goes back to the commission as to, because then Joel has the, he's basically over the radios anyway. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like, I heard about this first, that the technical oversight board is nobody that's on the commission.
Mhm.
So it's another complete set of experts, because you're not on the commission, and if Evan's not on the, Evan is on the commission.
Yeah, Evan's on the commission.
But see, he
It
was,
says it right in the agreement. He can't be. That it can't be somebody.
he can be there at the meeting. and
But he's
listen.
not.
He can listen.
He's not part of the TOB. That's.
He'd just
the
be
whole point.
a,
It's
just be a
basically
person
triarch.
there. Okay.
So it's a triarch. So it's the TOB and this and that.
And Rhonda.
Mhm.
and Evan Cook.
That saves you relaying the information twice, essentially.
Exactly.
does.
And it saves
Is
it
it-
not getting confused. or
Anytime it's
incorrect.
losing things in translation.
And Evan has been very good in dumbing it down for us so we can understand it. But
Well, I don't know that
Yeah,
I'd use
she
those
does.
words.
Well,
He's
you
good
know,
at the
it's-
explanation.
he puts it in, there's so many acronyms and so much detail that he puts it in real easily understandable things for people that don't work with us on a daily basis
Yeah.
to be able to make decisions.
It's one of those things that when you do it every day, it's very easy for us to use those acronyms, whereas he, consciously makes that effort. to-
Okay. Did we adequately get that done for you?
I think so. So we are going to,
We're not establishing a governance.
we're
board.
not establishing a governance board, but you are going to utilize a recommendation from the commission, who gets the recommendation from the technical.
TOB.
Yes.
The recommendation from the TOB, and it's got to be the triarch.
Yep, everybody needs to work together on this. Okay. Anything else on this matter?
Do we need to make any motion, or you'll just accept that information and we'll approve things that way informally?
Yeah,
Okay.
we really can't have a motion to make somebody else work for us.
Anything else?
None.
Okay.
Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah, if,
Try, but it probably wouldn't work real
to me,
well.
that's the experts. Yeah. And
we're just.
I know I don't want to tell you, hey, we need to approve this next step, because it's a very, we're getting close on the DICAL, that it's going to be done. And
And we're gonna have talks on that tomorrow. So
yeah, so I mean, there's things that are
there are still
outside
some
of our comfort zone, because they're trying to make sure the radios, that the paging is working for everybody on the DICAL system before
Just
we,
hoping we can actually get all the equipment we need with the supply chain shortages.
some of an issue.
That's driving everybody nuts right now.
Yeah,
Okay, let's move on to item number 11 on our agenda. This is to approve a service agreement with Johnson Controls for the fire alarm and fire extinguishers at the jail and courthouse. I know I've read all this. I just have my two components here, but Lucas, you want to give us a real brief synopsis?
Yeah, this is just a 5-year renewal that we've done for quite a while now. I did this year go out and get a secondary quote from another vendor on this. It was, the agreement was just a little bit less from the secondary vendor, but the reason I went with I think it was $200 more a year with Johnson Controls is the proprietary fire alarm system at the jail. The other vendor could have tested it, but they couldn't have worked on it, and we get a 10% discount on any parts and labor if we have this service agreement in place with Johnson Controls, who is the proprietary vendor. So
Okay, so your recommendation is to stick with Johnson.
yeah, that's my
Okay.
recommendation. It's, we'll probably eat up that $200 in parts in the first 2 years. So.
I'll entertain
I'll
motions
make
on
a
this
motion
item.
then. I'll make a motion to approve the service agreement with Johnson Controls for the fire alarm, and fire extinguishers at the jail and the courthouse.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the service agreement with Johnson Controls for the fire alarm and fire extinguishers at the jail and courthouse. Any further discussion, comments, or questions? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Slosik.
Yes.
Patton.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, item 12 on our agenda this morning is to approve an intergovernmental agreement for combined law enforcement operations between the city of Marshalltown and Marshall County. Discussion and possible action. Ben, you're here from the sheriff's department. You want to
Yeah, so
bring us up to speed here, please?
it's kind of a process here working between the city and the county. We have a joint tactical team. And since that team's been started many years ago now, it's always been kind of set up on a gentleman's agreement, handshake type thing. There's never been an actual formal mutual aid 20D agreement in place. This is the agreed version between the city and the county so far on, or the police department, the sheriff's office, as far as basically having a written policy in place. It doesn't change the operations. It essentially is just putting in writing what we've been doing for 10, 12 years now. Probably.
I approached Sheriff Matches probably about 9 years.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. Yeah, so that's when I started. So yeah, it'd be right around that time. So basically still leaving each entity in charge of their personnel. It just kind of spells out some of those things, makes it a little better for, there's some clarity, some for legal situations where it's spelled out versus just what was set up before in discussions.
Okay. Are there times when both of you two parties take this outside of Marshalltown and work in conjunction with it as far as mutual aid goes there?
Yeah, there could be if certain situations dictated, asking their staff to come out and assist in the county, whether it be just regular patrol personnel for a situation. And we do utilize that right now on an as-needed basis. A lot of times, especially at nighttime when there's less people out, we'll request assistance from a PD officer to come out and back us up on calls. SWAT, we have, the vast majority of the SWAT operations are in the city limits just based on the population. But we do have instances where we do utilize the tactical team out in the county as well.
Okay, so if we had a situation in another incorporated town, this would work on that instance also, where we're providing protection?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And you guys are all happy with this and
yes,
all parties, both you and the sheriff?
Yeah, Sheriff Phillips and I have had many discussions about this agreement. He recommended some language edits several months ago. We incorporated all of his recommendations into the document. So Sheriff Phillips and I are in agreement that this is a good proposal.
Okay.
So as far as the motion at this point, we don't have all that document. We don't need that document as far as everyone is working on it. Is that the document you and Sheriff Phillips are working on?
Well, the document was in our packet.
Yes.
And, okay, I didn't get to read, I didn't read
Yeah.
that. Okay,
It's done. It's
my
just,
fault. Okay,
And this was
I missed it.
approved by city back in December. Is that right?
Yeah, the city approved and signed back in December.
okay. So basically you're asking for approval for the chair to sign this and we're good to go. Is that your recommendation?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything else?
nope, that's good. That's what I wanted to know.
Entertain motions on this item then?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve intergovernmental agreement for combined law enforcement operations between the city of Marshalltown and Marshall County.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve an intergovernmental agreement for the combined law enforcement operations between the city of Marshalltown and Marshall County with possible action. Do we need to add to that and authorize the chairman to sign?
I think that would be safest. Because I think it's
That
just,
is the only signature.
that's the only
on here.
signature, and authorize you to sign, yes.
Okay, would you please change your motion to include that, please?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion or comments? Other than the fact that this is once again, the city and the county continue to work well with one another. And sometimes that doesn't get brought up enough. Would be my only comment. Anything else? Roll call vote, please, Sherry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 12 on, or 13 on our agenda is to approve renewal of Class C E liquor license LE 0001781 Pandora Petroleum Incorporated, doing business as Randall's Travel Center, 1 year beginning 3/8/2022. Entertain motions on this item, please.
I would make a motion to approve the renewal class E liquor license LE 0001781 Pandora Petroleum Incorporated, DBA Randall's Travel Center, 1 year beginning 3/8/2022.
And I will second that. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. No other comments? Roll call vote, please, Sherry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 14 on our agenda this morning is to approve a Class C beer permit BC 0027644, also for Pandora Petroleum Incorporated, doing business as Randall's Travel Center for 1 year, beginning 3/16/2022. Entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the renewal class C beer permit BC 0027644 Pandora Petroleum Incorporated, DBA Randall's Travel Center, 1 year beginning 3/16/2022.
And I will second that. Any further discussion or questions? There being none, roll call vote, please, Sherry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Moving on along this morning, we have personnel changes. Item number 15A, approve a memorandum of understanding between the Teamsters Local 238 regarding hours of work and overtime compensatory time classified as sergeant employees for a collective bargaining agreement that includes deputies, jailers, and the sheriff's office, discussion and possible action. You want to speak to this or shall I?
Either way.
Go ahead.
Basically, this is just to clean up language in the original contract. At the time the original contract was approved, the sergeant role is relatively new. The language in there, I'm not sure how it happened, it was intended or just the way it turned out. It specified the actual shifts for that sergeant position, which specified it was going to be a 5-2 schedule, 5 days on, 2 days off. When the rest of our patrol division works, generally, the general patrol division works a 6-3 schedule. So that original language basically said that sergeant must stay on that schedule. There's questions about whether or not the sheriff can set the schedule or not. This is going to basically just clean up that language and allow the sheriff to set that schedule based on 5-2 or 6-3 schedule. However, the best needs of the agency are, just cleans up the language is all it's doing. It's not changing any positions or anything like that. All it's doing is clean up the language, essentially saying that sergeants can work either of those schedules, because we have some sergeants that do work. Sergeant Gibson in the task force does work a 5-2 schedule because of that role. However, patrol, it makes more sense to have that patrol supervisor on the same shift, the same hours and days as a patrol division. So it just cleans up language.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve memorandum of understanding Teamster Local 2038 regarding hours of work and overtime compensatory time classified as sergeant employees for the collective bargaining agreement that includes deputies and jailers of the sheriff's office.
I'll second.
Okay, we have motion and a second to approve this memorandum of understanding. Any further discussion, question, or comments? There being none, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 15B on our agenda this morning is approved rate of pay for Danielle Fleming, Assistant Supervisor, Marshall County Treasurer's Office, change rate of pay for 2112 to 2163, effective March 7th, 2022. Entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the change of rate of pay. Daniel Fleming, Assistant Supervisor, Marshall County Treasurer's Office, change of pay from 2112 an hour to 2163 an hour, effective March 7, 2022.
I would second that then.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
You want,
Yeah, so both 15B and 15C is the difference that's being made here for the $1.01 is the difference between where my two clerks that are left us, dropping that position back to the entry level, and then this money is going into these two positions as they're picking up the slack. The adding Danielle to 2163 still has her 8.6% behind in that gap I spoke of before. The other one has Brienne, and we'll close that gap to 7.2%. So this is budget neutral. It gets them a step closer where they need to be. The starting positions are still off, and as well as the other positions, but one step closer for these two individuals.
Okay, you're budget neutral. Does that mean you're going to adjust the starting wage of the individual that's going to be replaced by the same amount? Because otherwise it's not budget neutral.
Yes, it is. Actually, I'm going to reduce the starting position to 1705 because that's what I have budgeted for the starting pay for that position. It's reducing from 1736 for one and from 1775 for the other.
I would be more inclined to vote for this, being budget neutral. And then you're moving it, you say they're starting back down to 1705.
Yep. I only present to you guys budget neutral stuff outside of budget year. This is for current year. I would never present to you anything outside of budget. So, well, I don't think we can actually do that unless I'm requesting an appropriation change.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. Further comments, questions, or? Okay. Sherry, would you call the roll, please?
Wassett,
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes. Please make note so that when you come back to replace those of the $1 per hour we discussed today, so that replacement comes in at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can trust me on that. I don't ever go outside of any
All right.
word of commitments here.
Item number 15C is approved rate of change pay for Brienne Matic, Universal Clerk, Marshall County Treasurer's Office. Change rate of pay from $18.17 an hour to $18.67 an hour, effective March 7th, 2022. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve change of rate of pay. Brienne Matic, Universal Clerk, Marshall County Treasurer's Office, change of pay from $18.17 per hour to $18.67 per hour, effective March 7th, 2022.
I'll second.
Okay. I'm assuming everything is the same here.
Yep.
Never need to discuss it twice.
Well, I'll just add that 1705 that I'm dropping them down to be so that it's in equal with the pay that's in my office. That 1705 is significantly lower than other departments of the exact same grade starting wage at 1850 and 1925 that has been approved by you guys in the last year. So we're significantly behind on that. So I'm staying right within budget where you need me to be. That's kind of why I'm asking for that request in the other budgetary item for the future year to get that corrected.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, there being none, roll call vote, please.
Wassett.
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes. Okay, item number 16 is to approve its observance of national holiday, June 13th on Monday, June 20th, 2022. The reason for this is Great Western Bank is going to be closed Monday, June 20th, 2022, in observance of the national holiday, Juneteenth. The county offices are located within the bank and we will not be able to service those customers. Are we going to do this
About half.
system-wide?
That's your call. I'm thinking it's probably system-wide would send a good message, just with the publicity on this new
Okay.
federal holiday. It's also closed for banks, or all banks, so that FDIC is closed, so that last year this came up like a week before this holiday, and you know, that the FDIC was going to be closed, nobody could really react quickly enough. So the banks, a few closed, most stayed open just
Okay,
because they
so-
couldn't.
Currently, we have 10 paid holidays, so are you adding a paid holiday here?
We are not changing our personnel policy at this point. We are just doing this because one of our locations can't be there. We cannot, we've got several departments that cannot work that day. This may be something that we want to look at our personnel policy and look at our holidays.
So are these going to be paid hours or time off hours or what?
What we've done on the other holidays is it's been a holiday. They can't work. You know, they can't go in there and work. It's not an option for them.
So it is paid.
It's a paid holiday.
There we
You're
go.
adding a paid holiday.
You would like to see it be county-wide though, secondary roads?
That's up to you all, how we've said that the bank ones, you
It
know,
would not apply to any bargaining units,
Right. Okay, so secondary roads would continue to function.
except the office staff. It would apply to the administrative portion of our 3 bargaining units out to the sheriff's office.
yeah.
But not patrol nor civil.
On
officer,
some of our
jail.
holidays, we've just done the bank folks.
That's what we did initially, and we thought we wouldn't be there for very long.
Yeah, you remember, we were only going to be there 6 months to a year.
Yes, keep reminding me.
One thing to add is the third Monday in June is by code, the tax sale. So whatever you do here doesn't matter because I'm seeing that some counties are gonna do shifting it to Tuesday. I'm gonna verify with legal advice if that's something I can do. If not, I can do it at any location. I just have to publish that.
Do it
with all my
online.
Reporting, so I could do it.
He
here,
still has
this
to have a
building.
physical
If this
location.
building's, I have to have a physical location of where on my computer it's taking place. So whether it's here, if this is close, I mean, I could even do the library. I could really do it anywhere with my remote capabilities to run a tax sale. It's amazing the technology nowadays compared to what it used to be. So whatever you decide, I'll just have to determine whether I'm gonna do it on that Monday at a different location or we'll do it on Tuesday, depending on what the.
Yeah, because it's kind of tough because actually the holiday falls on Sunday. It's June 19th. But because that's on Sunday, it's being observed on Monday.
I would recommend not changing the personnel policy and making this a one-time thing because we're gonna be back in our real home
And then we can determine
We
on
can
the
cover it
personnel
again
policy what we.
later
want
on
to
down
do.
the road.
Okay.
That would just
And
be my
Jared's got to figure out what's
recommendation.
legal, what he can do.
Entertain motions on this item, please.
You want to do that, Steve?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the observance of national holiday Juneteenth on Monday, June 20th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Okay, and is this just going to
Can
be
we-
for this year?
Can we
year,
add
1
for staff at Great Western Bank for this year?
Yes, just the staff at Great Western Bank.
That's,
Okay, I'll second that.
that's what we've done for the other holidays so far, I think. No, we've done some.
We went to giving everybody, all non-union, the holiday off except the sheriff's office staff. I don't know. So it's all over the place.
It's all over the
Okay.
place.
Well, non-union. that
I
would
hate
be
it when we
everyone.
do these things that are all over the
I
place,
know.
but we're in unusual times,
Yeah.
not being in our home, so we really don't have a choice here. So your motion is the staff at Great Western only?
My motion is for the staff at Great Western.
And was that your second?
Yes, unless we want to change it and have it all non-union, because then we pick up Mike, we pick up the county attorney, and wherever you're at.
An
Well,
engineer.
county attorney rarely, the court's schedule and the county schedule rarely follow each other with respect
They
to
have different
holidays. They have
holidays.
different holidays,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
been a bone of
Policy.
contention for years. Which creates
We're
another,
hoping to make that more uniform.
that
down the
really
road.
creates a problem because we can have times when we are observing a national holiday as county employees, but the court system isn't. So buildings and grounds has to be physically here to be able to keep the courthouse open because we're conducting operations through the court system, and it has not been fair and equitable for everybody because we have two different calendars we work off of.
So
It's a pain in the neck.
Steve's original motion is good. Okay.
Steve's original motion was for county or courthouse employees
For
only.
Staff at Great Western Bank.
How many,
Yes.
what's the difference in numbers of people between that staff only and the rest of non-union? How many?
You've got,
Well,
Well,
we've
yours
got,
are-
we've got 3 or 4 out to your place. It would be Mel, and Tammy, and
yeah, the conservation.
We'd have-
They're covered under the.
right, but we also,
Your
I think
union.
there's something where,
Conservation, IT,
yeah, conservation, IT,
yeah,
you'd
Building
have
and grounds.
buildings and grounds, you'd also have
engineer's
the
office,
engineer's office,
not secondary. but-
public health.
In the
Everybody that's
past,
in the
didn't we
annex.
do The bank and then up to department head. I thought we did that once,
We did say that once, I think.
Yes, we
because
did.
then it allowed Nan to, if she wanted, she could bring people here to work or
I
something.
made him
And
work here.
You did that more than once,
Oh, yeah.
which I thought was tremendous.
Look at them all over there nodding. Yes, I
Yeah, they love
did.
you.
They do.
So obviously there was a need to work that.
It's, a lot of times it's not that October holiday and it's election time, and this past October, we were moving into this building. We needed to work.
My original motion stands.
Okay, original motion stands. Sherry, just for clarification, we've had a considerable amount of discussion. Would you read that back, please?
Motion by Scholastic, second by Patton, to close June 20 in service of National Holiday Juneteenth for staff at Great Western Bank only.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion, comments, or questions? That being said, roll call vote, please.
Scholastic.
Yes.
Patton,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Moving right along, item number 17 on our agenda this morning. Siren project for unincorporated areas. Do we have anything new that has come up on this since our last update?
Just a little bit on my end, and I think we both ended up visiting with Justin. That's just,
No,
Justin,
this is a siren.
this is
not-
siren. This is not,
oh, I'm
This is a
sorry, the
siren
siren, yes,
project.
okay. My latest conversation has been with Paul, that was just yesterday. I asked Paul if he had the equipment and the ability to put these poles in. And his equipment is limited to 12-inch holes and possibly as deep as 6 feet. And then he's concerned about the ability to actually tip those poles into the out holes. His recommendation was to go to Consumers Energy and visit with them and see if there would be an opportunity to work with them on this project.
As in them maybe donating installation.
I don't know if we can ask them to do that. Maybe we could and see where that goes, but that would save tremendous amount of money if they would even do it at a partial.
And Consumers takes care of the outlying areas. I don't believe they've got anything within the incorporated city of Marshalltown. So it would probably take
just
care of.
it just touches a little
Yeah.
bit.
It could be a tax write-off on top of that. I think most they could say it's no.
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
Grundy REC.
But I
There's,
think our,
You know, it's always free to ask.
Right.
I think the cost was up $7,000 a pole, if I remember right, wasn't it? To have those installed.
Really?
Well, okay, so what they're looking at when we're talking is, I don't know if it's up to $7,000 for just the pole, because then it's also running the electrical to the pole. So that's what we're looking at, but we could end up getting anywhere from $7,000 to probably $9,000 off of each siren if we were able to. And it, Fisher is coming back somewhere between 14th and the 16th for us to go out and look at.
Oh, good.
additional sites. And I don't know if Kim's on the line, if she wants to give any other updates. or
She had a meeting.
She had
today.
a meeting, I just didn't know if she had gotten on. Okay, so, the last time we met, it was over at, her office, and we kind of re-looked at some of the sites we were looking at in association on those maps of population, and we were right on most of the locations, but, in the three of us looking at it, it looked like there was some areas that we might need to tweak just a little bit, and that's with Bruce Bishop coming down, so I've got my, I don't know if he's gonna be here on the 15th. We're gonna try and have to work around the BOS meeting, but for the most part, we should be able to get a little bit more during this time.
Okay.
So it's moving along. Did we get any movement on what you guys kind of want to start thinking about as far as like, MOUs or anything like that? Because you were gonna kind of look into that as far as like.
No, I haven't done anything with that yet.
Okay, okay.
I think we're way early on that.
Totally early. I just didn't know if it's, kind of projecting and kind of thoughts, because a couple of things that we were talking about is making sure it's very specific as to, the 15% that each person would, have to pay based on, okay, if you ask for this, this is the most you can get versus, if you ask for 50,000, but yours comes to 52, okay, well, the $2,000 is on you. So just making it very, very specific and that kind of,
Yep.
forward thinking.
And to my understanding, all the incorporated communities understood that up front. That
I
their
believe so,
match
but just
was totally out of their budget, not the county's budget.
right, and that's something that we just want to make sure that it's clarified in that document, so there is zero misunderstanding as to, what they're looking at,
Okay,
regardless of what it was talked about before, because you know how that can.
I know. People hear what they want to hear, but I think it's extremely important, and our chances of getting this grant are going to be much greater
Mhm.
having all the incorporated communities
Yes,
and the county applying for this rather than just us.
yes,
I feel good about it.
I do too, I really do, and
Yeah.
not to mention the more that we do, there's different things, because, even talking to Kim, the worst that can be said is no, the more that we do, what kind of a benefit or
Yep.
what kind of a, deal or discount can they give us?
Yeah.
Worst they
Okay.
can say is none.
So we've had our discussion. We really don't need to take any action here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Anything else on the siren project we want to bring up today?
I
Good.
think that's pretty much it for right now.
Well, Steve, you were on the board out there, weren't you, for a while?
Consumers,
So
You
you,
think I could sway?
so your name is still in
It's
letters
still on the
Still on the
plaque?
dartboard, isn't it?
Do you want me to go out with you when you have that?
Come on
discussion?
down.
I will,
Okay.
I will.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll drive.
There
Okay,
you go.
works for me.
Just from the outside looking in, is there any reason you wouldn't ask Alliant to split it by service areas, allow Alliant to the same opportunity on their service area and consumers on there is a service kind of split?
I don't know
Work
if
a little
Alliant
bit.
has any service areas outside of the city.
We'd have.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
they do.
They do?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, because.
I'd say-
I'd go with both.
I'd say probably a lot of them will be on.
Yeah.
Alliant
And
service.
north, we'd probably have some up north too.
And that would be-
North, south tends to be consumer.
By splitting it up, it's not such a big commitment for either one. by
Grundy
themselves.
Well, the
and there's
one,
another
the
one.
one that's right
Well,
by the ARL. that
I don't
would be
think Grundy's
Alliant.
in Marsh County.
So I do know that.
There's somebody.
Like by the ARL.
That's
the-
why.
the
Are
second
you?
we were
Oh, that's,
there.
that's
And there's
probably.
another
That would
one
be
that's
Alliant,
up
'cause
north.
I'm on Alliant, they're right down the road. from me.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there-
I know that.
Honestly,
there's an
I'd
Alliant
go
out of
after wherever we're
Marshalltown
gonna
and
put them
Alliant
and
out
ask
of
that
Iowa
service
That's what I
provider
meant.
to assist
Yeah.
us,
No, that's
whether
a
it's
great
Grundy County REC
Which is a
or
whole different.
we might even have some
Yeah.
Mid-America
idea. But if they can
down
even
in
do that,
roads
'cause
possibly.
again, tax right off, so
Yeah.
that's something that they could maybe donate to
Well,
the public services. thing.
It's not just necessarily there. It's
No,
our theme of public protection
Oh,
that we've
absolutely.
stayed with.
yeah,
Okay,
let me know when you want to do that.
Okay.
all right.
Seriously.
I'll be interested to see
Yeah.
on each of the proposed sites, when you get that
Mm-hmm.
done, what service area it is with utilities.
Okay.
Well, Steve, if you can talk them into doing it out there from your old job, then we can say Alliant.
You know how that works.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, moving right along is item number 18, which has been tabled. Do we want to leave that tabled? I don't think we've had any changes. I know the state is having discussions with the mental health court as far as possibly funding it on the state level. They did fund the drug court. And I
Yes, they
know
did.
you have gone to
I went to
CICS.
CICS and CICS said, we really don't want to do this and take it out for so many years. So they're saying the same thing we did. We don't want to take something that's going to be continuing on and on and on and on. And their thought was, let's talk to the state about this.
Should we just leave it tabled then at this
Yeah.
point?
Let's do, we didn't say table till a certain time, so let's, we can bring it up next time.
I've spoken with Senator Edler on this and Costello and Whitmer several times. They're gonna have debate coming up on some mental health issues now that they've got past the other taxing debates, but I would highly encourage you guys, if you get the opportunity,
Okay.
have discussions with those guys and Representative Fisher. He still represents us until the redistricting gets taken care of after that, and then it's Dio. Was another real good individual. He will work real well with us in the house. But I know they've got considerable discussions coming up with both DHS and mental health in the legislature in the coming weeks.
Do we need to make a decision one way or another on the radio equipment for the Grand and Ginger Tree?
We were gonna leave that tabled until Paul comes back with figures on the paving project, because we're able to use the funds from ARPA for paving. And when we get done with that, our last decision on all three of these items is they were gonna remain on the table. If there was any money left over, we would work at it at that time.
Back to the mental health court one more time. There is a disagreement among the state organization whether we can use ARPA funds for mental health. Isaac says we can.
DHS
Says no.
no. Imagine that, the state gives us two different answers. That never happens, does it?
Anyway, that's kind of a mess right there right now.
But that being said, ISAC is not a state entity.
No.
They're an opinion generator.
It's an opinion, but so it makes me not feel as warm and fuzzy about it.
No,
However, with the lost revenue of the 10 million, that is not something that's explicitly said that we cannot do. So it would still be something that could be done.
Yeah.
But it always makes me nervous when they're saying different things.
They do, and they're
makes it hard to make a decision.
they're not stuttering when they say it either. So,
Okay. So we're gonna leave item 18 remain to be tabled then?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to item 19, which is public forum. This is a time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in public forum. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? Man, I was gonna look at you last because you've always got your hand up.
This one's a really easy one. Seems odd, but it's time to order flu vaccine for the fall flu clinic that we usually provide to staff. I wanted to tell our public health nurse, Pat Thompson, to go ahead, as long as I don't hear any dissension here. That's worked out nicely, having her right there and able to, I think we get a higher participation rate. So it cost us, I think it was about between $1,800 and $1,900 is what it's $35 a shot, $1,785 is what it cost us this year.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of a wellness thing.
And we covered that through wellness. Did Pat come out and
No.
no, not through wellness?
No,
Okay.
we covered
Department
that.
salaries.
Yeah.
Did Pat come out
You
and do
paid for that.
at the jail or?
Jail nurse.
To your nurses?
We'll take care of ours.
Do they order their own or does Pat order it for them? Do you
That
know?
I'm not sure.
Pat might be ordering for them.
So you're saying you supervisor's budget last year?
Yeah, individual line items.
Okay.
No, the health fund.
Yeah,
Yeah, general sub health fund. That's why
do us a favor and check with the nurses out there to make sure that you guys coordinate with Pat on getting those ordered.
I think our nurses, I know usually we respond to them if we want it, and then they do the head count. And I'm not sure how it gets handled from there, but I'll touch base with them.
Just so it works.
I'll make a note to also have Pat check with them too.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? On Zoom? No?
See, mine was easy this
Okay.
time.
That being said, we're going to move on to item number 20, which is adjournment. The next regular session is March 15th, 2022 at 9:05 a.m. All business to be acted upon at that session should be submitted to the county auditor and recorder's office or the board of supervisors office by Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at 12 p.m. There being no further business to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned at 10:41 a.m. Thank you, everybody.